All right, good morning. Welcome in, baseball and coffee people. First stream of the new year. So happy new year to everybody. 2026. Going to be an awesome year for the show. Going to be a great year for baseball. So new year, new moves. That is the title of today's live stream. There was a couple moves to go over. None bigger than Mr. Tatsuya Imai signing with Houston. Did not see this one coming. Also, stuck with Dunkin' Coffee right now. Have no we got no beans right now for my grinder, so I just ordered a whole bunch. Gonna try out a couple of new coffees as we head into January. Hopefully, starting Monday, we'll start rolling out the guests again. Gonna have another 9 or 10 guests this month, and then we'll continue right into February. We'll get closer and closer to spring training. We'll start seeing what all the moves are. We'll go over all the teams, and then we'll get excited for WBC. So that's kind of the little updated schedule as we get started here into January. So, all right. First person we want to look at is Mr. Tatsuya Imai, who signs with the Astros. It's an interesting deal. It's an opt-out every year. It's a 3-year contract. Frankly, I thought he would get a lot more money. But we can go ahead and pencil him into this rotation. Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, and then Tatsuya Imai. 27.6 years old, so right about the same age as Hunter Brown. And then Lance McCullers, we'll see if he stays healthy. And then Mike Burrows, who they got in that trade, that 3-way trade that just went down not too long ago, involving the Rays and the Pirates. So Imai, I don't know. It's interesting. I thought a lot of the big teams in the Northeast, and I also thought the San Francisco Giants were going to be in on this guy. It turns out an outcome that was hard to predict. The Astros have been kind of falling back to the pack just a touch. They finally did not win the division last year. Mariners took them down. We know about the A's young core. We know about all the one-year moves that the Angels have been making. The Rangers did some interesting stuff. They had outstanding pitching last year. The hitting suffered. They go and they get Nimmo. They make a couple moves. So we'll see how that affects the Rangers. But yeah, the Astros. Wasn't sure what they were going to be doing. It seemed like they're going to have to be a little creative this offseason. And you know what? They are a little creative this offseason. They go ahead and they make that trade for Mike Burrows, and now they have Imai. So I don't know. This is an interesting move. I think he's got huge upside. I'm excited to watch Imai. There'll definitely be a video on his Major League debut. But let's get into him in a minute. Let me get into the chat for a second as I say good morning to everybody here. All right, we have some people that are excited about Bo Bichette. This MVP Nation saying Red Sox are going to get Bo Bichette, and then we have Shakerman's 270 saying go Blue Jays with Bo at second. So I think he's in that small group of the big-time free agents that's left right now. Bellinger, Tucker, Framber, Bichette, and a few others. And very curious what's going to happen with them. We know Okamoto has a deadline coming up in 2 days, so he'll probably be the next domino to drop. But I am curious about Bo. Ooh, I need in case of emergency Bustelo. See, we have some regular coffee back there, but we had a double sleepover last night with my daughters, so we just ordered Dunkin' in the morning, got a little donuts for the girls, and I just went with a little iced Americano, which I have to say doesn't taste great. Doesn't taste great. I wish I had some better beans to throw on top of these, but we don't, and we'll keep moving. All right, what else we got here? Talk about the Sox. No one cares about the Astros. Well, the Sox didn't do shit, so we have to talk about the Astros. If the Sox do something, we'll talk about the Sox. All right, here we go. Tatsuya Imai. So this guy's a very fascinating guy. I actually have his numbers from NPB pulled up here off of a freeze frame of somebody else's YouTube. You can see that he's improved for a while. He's always had really good stuff. But he's gotten better and better and better in terms of his fundamentals as time goes on. First place I want you to feast your eyes is on the walk percentage. Back in the pandemic years, 16.8% walks, which is crazy high. That's like as high as in my worst year, I wasn't even that high, I don't believe. And then 14.5, then here comes the dead ball era, but continues with a 13.8, 11.4, 9.8, And then he finally puts it together last year with a 7% walk rate, which would be better than league average. It's about 8% in MLB. So that was the biggest thing with him. He's got incredible stuff. It's different. It's unique stuff. He's got a reverse slider. So the ball breaks to his arm side, whereas most pitchers' sliders break to the glove side. A very notable guy with an arm side slider that we've just seen in the postseason was Trey Savage. Now, these are very different pitchers, different angles. But at the same time, the results don't lie. And my slider dominated NPB. He had the highest strikeout rate in the league, 27.8% this last year. That wouldn't be anywhere near the highest percentage in MLB, but it's a different game over there, a very contact-oriented game. Nevertheless, he was the strikeout king over there this year. Highest strikeout rate, paired that with a good walk rate, that K minus walk percentage, 20.7. If you get that number over 20, that means you're super elite. So there's nothing else for him to prove in NPB. He's steadily improved over the past few years, and he's been ready for his shot in MLB. Let's take a watch of this game where he threw a complete game shutout this year. Couple things that I want you to notice while you watch this guy chuck the rock. First of all, the delivery is very simple and dynamic. He's a great athlete. The ball jumps out of his hand. He's more of like a mid-90s guy, and then he can go up to the high 90s. This is a good comment here by, I don't remember the guy's first name, like Dario maybe, but Moretta, who was with the Pirates. He had a really good reverse slider. Here's a good look at it right here. Hard to tell from this camera angle, but these balls have pretty good depth. They tunnel really well off a fastball. And, you know, typically you'd be saying, oh, this guy doesn't have a good slider because of the action on it, but yeah, Dari, that's his name. That's his name. Dari Moretta was the name. Thank you, Eric. But I think anytime you can be abnormal with your pitch, especially at a high velocity like he's got, it's a good thing, and it's proved to be a good thing in NPB, as the numbers on the slider were truly remarkable. He's also got that split. You know, a lot of guys coming over from Japan have really good splits. He's no exception. He has a pretty nice splitter as well. Last year, the splitter was such a prominent pitch in MLB, so we'll see how he brings that. But overall, you know, having watched this guy quite a bit now, a couple things stand out. One, it's easy gas from a very quick arm and really a great athletic delivery. It's a weird slider. So here's him playing defense, just slinging it, making it look easy. But also, over the years, as I've watched some of his progression, this delivery has gotten better and better and better. And that's why I think that this is sustainable. Also, he had a big-time... he pitches with a big-time chip on his shoulder, has a big-time edge out there, which is what he's going to need. And I actually think it's a great fit stylistically, joining another team, a team that has an edge overall, which is in Houston. So interesting move. He's definitely different than the others. I also love having him on the same staff as a Lance McCullers, because McCullers, despite his arm injuries, has been incredible at adding pitch types over his career. He ended up with an above-average sinker, two above-average breaking balls, that knuckle curve, which he came up and was famous for, as well as a sweeper that became pretty dynamic. And then he also developed a really good changeup. So I love the idea of Amai working with McCullers on the same staff. Houston, also known as one of the better pitching development organizations. And he maintains his upside, getting that opt-out after every year. He's a Boris guy, so probably didn't love the long-term options he had out there. And this makes sense. He goes to a team that's going to be in competition. He's going to get to make all his starts, and if he's dominant, he can opt out after this year. For what it's worth, I really like pitching in Houston. I know they have the Crawford boxes out there, and right field's a little shallow. Home plate feels awfully close there. We've seen guys win the Cy Young and have tremendous seasons pitching in Houston, so there's no fear of that. AL West ballparks are generally pretty pitcher-friendly. So even though he's going to the American League and he's taking on quite a challenge, I kind of like the fit with Houston on the mound, and also with some of his, teammates and some of the stuff that the organization will provide for him to make him better. But I'm excited to watch him. Really, really excited to watch him. Curious why other teams didn't jump all over him. Don't know what the other offers were, which is something to worry about maybe a little bit, because not worry about, but it's just one of those things we don't know. So if we don't know, how are we going to find out? Okay, let me see if I can find. I think I actually have them in photos. I have Imai's pitch profile here. All right, so here's the four-seam shape. We've gone over this when we looked at the Asian prospects originally, the guys that were going to be coming over, the international prospects. A couple things to stand out when talking about Imai. Number one, above average velocity, average 94.9. No reason to think that will come down. He's also shown an ability to dial it up to the upper nines. Vertical break. So here's something that is a little bit of a concern. It's 13.5 inches. Now, it's from a little bit of a low slot from what it appears, so it doesn't really matter comparing this to league average. It's going to play more like league average, but it's also going to have more velocity. But other part of it is with the ball, with the changeover from the ball, going from the MPB ball to the Major League ball, typically you lose a little bit of four-seam shape in terms of induced vertical break, so that might come down a little bit and make his fastball awfully hittable. And look, Lance Brzezowski was all over this. He said he thinks teams were scared how his stuff would look with the MLB ball. So now that we've had enough guys come over, we're pretty sure that it's about an inch difference in terms of induced vertical break on a four-seam with the NPB ball to the MLB ball. I think part of it is we have no idea what that slider is going to look like because now you have a lot more variables introduced, and really you have to put the ball on an interesting spin axis to create the movement that he has. Anyway, one thing I wanted to note here is because of that arm slot, and we just saw with Imai, it's kind of a lower slot. He has tremendous run on his pitch, on his four-seam. 14.7 inches of horizontal break. The MLB average is right around 8 inches. This ball is taking off to the arm side. So not only does it have tremendous velocity, but also has tremendous arm side run for a four-seam, which tells me he probably could have an elite sinker if they choose to lean into that. And then you look at the VAA, and this is what I was talking about. Even though he has below average vertical break relative to MLB average on his induced vertical break reading, because he's low slot, when he upshoots it, the ball's going to come in flatter. On these vertical approach angle stats, these are in degrees, negative 4.2 degrees, negative 4.7 degrees. The lower the better when you're talking four-seam fastball up at the top of the zone. That's going to make that ball look very flat coming into the hitter, and it's going to be really, really, really hard to stay on plane with that as a batter. As a batter, in order to hit a really good ride four-seam, you have to kind of turn your shoulders. As soon as you get your hands involved, you end up scooping under it. So I don't know if his vertical approach angle will be quite this flat because, again, the ball's changing, but it's going to be pretty flat. So we're going to be intrigued to see how the fastball plays up in the zone and also if he adds in a sinker shape. This is how the four-seam did in NPB. He threw a lot of strikes. He basically lived in the zone, although a little less than MLB average. Zone swing and miss wasn't great, but again, it's hard to parse through whether that's a problem with his heater or more of a stylistic approach in MPB. I noticed how in MPB they don't really live and die with the home run. There's only some guys with the power. They play a lot of small ball. They still subscribe to the strategy of fouling, seeing a lot of pitches off, wearing down your starter. However, I think pitching to contact is also a skill that is underlearned in MLB. It's something that we learned coming up in the old era, my old era, my old ass, back in 2008, 2009, 2010. We were very much incentivized to go deep into the game, so you learn a little bit about how to pitch to contact. And where does that show up in MLB? Well, I'll tell you where it showed up big time in this World Series. Yoshinobu Yamamoto facing the Blue Jays, who have tremendous contact ability. They had the best contact ability in MLB last year. And you saw what they did to Snell. You saw what they did to Glasnow. To some extent, what they even did to Ohtani. Who's the one who ended up dominating this lineup? It was Yamamoto. That's because Yamamoto just came over from NPB 2 years ago in a league that's much more contact-oriented. He understands how to get strikeouts, how to get whiff, but he also understands how to control his batted balls. Ground balls, pop-ups, weak contact, everything he needs. There's a possibility that Imai could have that same ability, and that could play really, really well if he's going to be. That could be the separator between being a pretty good swing and miss guy who has some length in his game or being a true number one or number two style pitcher that goes deep into the game. So yeah, the four-seam success, it's kind of hard to parse through these numbers and decide what they mean in MLB, and that's why it's going to be so fascinating to watch him when he first comes over. All right, here's the funky slider shape. Velocity 86.3, MLB average is 86.1, so it's a traditional gyro slider speed, that mid speed. That mid speed is important for a number of reasons. When you throw in this medium speed, and what I would classify medium speed is everything from like 85 to 89, maybe 84 to 89. The interesting thing about medium speed pitches in MLB is if you throw bad ones in bad locations, those are home runs and damage and extra base hits. Almost every batter crushes these pitches. However, these pitches also tunnel extremely well with fastballs, and therefore they result in a lot of swing and miss and a lot of chase where people think they're swinging at fastballs. I think the fact that his slider backs up in the same way that his four-seam tails, I think hides the shape of this guy's slider even better than most, and that convinces a lot of people that they're swinging at a fastball when they're swinging at a funky slider. So the vertical break's right on average. You're not going to be able to discern any difference out of a normal slider on that, but look at the horizontal break. His is negative 2.4, which is 2.4 to the right, whereas most people are averaging 5.5 to the left if you're a right-handed pitcher, meaning to your glove side. So typically you want to sweep the ball away from a righty if you're a righty. His is actually coming in. But I think if he pairs it well with a fastball, the ultimate result is guys think they're swinging at a fastball and they're swinging at a slider. So that's a little bit about the shape of his slider. Here are the slider results, and these ones don't lie. 47% swing and miss, MLB average only 35%. Chase rate, 41%. MLB average only 34%. Zone miss, 27%. That's huge. That's a key number. If you can't get any whiff in the zone, then you're relying on every single batter you face to chase a lot. And honestly, in MLB, it's pretty hard to get chase. Although with this pitch, he's pretty good at it. And the zone rate's fine, so they can't just eliminate it and stand there. So pretty good slider results. These haven't lied yet, and I'm very curious how this is going to play in MLB. Again, I think it's a feature that he has a weird slider shape, not a bug. For me, it's a feature. You want to be weird. And if it is a bug and it turns out to stink, then we can figure out how to adjust that nowadays. But I think he's going to come in, and the slider's going to be hard to understand. I think ultimately, and you know, Kike Hernandez talked about this when he came on the show a little while ago talking about Savage. He was saying, you know, your brain just is telling you that when you see that type of, you know, loose gyro-like spin, this bullet-type spin, when you see anything like that, your brain tells you the ball's going to go away from you a little bit as a righty, right on right. But then the ball doesn't. It kind of backs up on you and kind of drops. And it's fast, mind you, but these pitches are fast, so you have not a lot of reaction time to adjust your barrel in space. And he said it was really hard to square up, really hard to get used to, and also made his swing decisions tough. So I think you're going to see a similar thing with Imai as he comes over. And this is also why I'm surprised more teams didn't jump in, although I think the nature of the contract maybe will be why, and we'll get into that in a second. Okay. Don't know who that was. Here's Imai's splitter shape. So here's the splitter that he's coming over with, 85.5. So another similar medium speed, very similar to that slider speed. Vertical break, 5.4. Horizontal break, 15.1. So not a ton of drop on this pitch, 5.4. I mean, basically a sinker amount of drop, not necessarily a vicious splitter amount of drop. Has a ton of spin rate. Be curious to see how this plays. If it plays well, you don't mess with it, you stick with it. If you need to add more depth, we have ways to do that now. Kicking the change, altering the split grip a little bit. And it's important to remember he's only 27 years old, so plenty more development left in him if need be. But this pitch was pretty effective over there in NPB, and honestly, a lot of these dudes in Japan, like they have control over their splitters and understanding of their splitters that we don't yet, so you have to watch it play out. Okay, we got a comment here mentioning AL Parks being pitcher friendly while the A's are playing in a minor league ballpark. Yeah, okay, so the A's, good point there. Team Mellerbrook. But Rangers plays huge. Angels plays at least neutral. Seattle plays huge. And what's the fourth one that I'm forgetting in this division? Well, I guess it's the one that they play in, Houston, other than the A's. So you're right. A's is a crackerjack park. Good call there. But the other four, I feel like play pretty neutral. Houston can be hitter friendly with the certain types of hitters, but center field's awfully deep, and obviously we've seen guys win the Cy Young there. Verlander, we've seen Garrett Cole. shove there. A lot of guys have shoved there, Framber. So to me, that's not as big a deal. But good point, bringing that out here. Does he have any pitches that move glove side? No, he doesn't. And that's an interesting issue. I think his game is more velocity. Now that he has better command, he should be dictating things a little better out there with better counts. But no, he doesn't have anything that goes left. And I think it's going to be interesting if he has to develop that or not. Because right now it's a tunnel game. A lot of guys play the contrast game, which is kind of what I played. We have one pitch going one way, one pitch going the other way. They're in extreme different movements, but also extreme different speeds. And it's a contrast thing, right? It's a fast, slow. It's a right, left. It's an up, down. His is more, the pitches look the same and then they're not, right? And that's a great trick too. A lot of guys have dominated with that style. And I think that's what you're going to be looking at with Amai. Here are the splitter results he had in Japan, which were good. And remember, there's a ton of splitters over there. So if you're above average in results over there, you probably have an above average splitter because everybody's throwing it. 38% swing miss rate, 33% chase rate, although that's not super high for MLB average. Again, remember, they're used to seeing him over there, so that might change. Actually, a pretty high zone rate with the split, which he might need to use so he's not so predictable in early counts. And the zone miss is a little bit above average, and we'll just have to see. All right. That is the story with Imai on a data level. Let me get into Houston now. All right, look at the lineup. Jeremy Pena had a great year last year. Jordan didn't really play at all last year, but we know what he can do. Altuve, Correa. You know, I've said I liked Correa at third. He's only 31 years old. I could see Correa still being very, very dynamic at third base. Altuve is getting up there, but he's a magical player. Paredes is made for that ballpark. He struggled a bit, as did Christian Walker. But those are all guys with some pretty high upside. Sanchez even has upside. Now, we haven't seen it yet in all those years with the Marlins, but this is a guy who's got tremendous tools, so I'm curious how he plays out. Plus, they need some lefties in the lineup, so he's going to be in there. Yannier Diaz is a good hitting catcher, and then Jake Myers is a tremendous defending center fielder. So I don't hate their lineup. I think it's still solid. They need some bounce backs, no doubt, but they have some names in that lineup, as well as Zach Cole and Cam Smith, who are two young guys who came up last year. Cole actually looked pretty good in limited action, and Cam Smith made the club out of spring training, and we just don't know what he is yet. We don't know what his ceiling is yet. I mean, very rare to have no minor league development time. Nick Allen was the trade for Dubon. That saved them some money. That probably helped them pay for Imai. But he's a tremendous defender. He will probably, be a defensive replacement at times. He was unbelievable for the Braves last year. And again, this rotation, now they don't have a lefty in it. I don't know if you need one or not. What's up, baby?
Do you know where Brad's belly bag is? Is it in your car?
I don't know.
On Christmas Eve.
It can't be my car because Davis cleaned out my car. So it's all righties. Hunter Brown took the leap last year. He was amazing. Javier has been declining a little bit, but he's got that four-seam ride from the low slot. Now you throw Amai in there. McCullers, again, it's all health-related. And then Burrows, they get the 6 years of control. So it's an interesting group. I don't feel like it has a very high floor. I feel like it has a decently high ceiling, but I feel like it doesn't have a very high floor. This could fall out really quick, and you could be using depth guys pretty quick. Javier hasn't been exactly the picture of health either. Javier and McCullers have a lot of question marks, obviously, health-wise. And then Amai and Hunter Brown. Bullpen-wise, you get Hader back, so that's good. You got to keep him healthy. It really falls apart without him. Abreu's tremendous. And then they have a ton of velocity after that. Pearson, Ort, Santos all throw absolute cheese with the two lefties mixed in. Wesneski should be coming back, I believe, off Tommy John, maybe late in the season this year to help out. So I don't know. Houston's making another push in. They're trying to get back involved in this division. I think the Mariners have the most complete team, but none of these teams are going to be giving in. I think the A's might have the best offense. And like we mentioned, they play in the Cracker Jack ballpark up Sutter Health Field in Sacramento, so that could be a really tough place to go in and win games. They just don't, to me, they're a little light on the pitching, and then the Angels are taking that, we're already defeated, but we're going out for the last round of the boxing match, and we're going to try to knock somebody out. So, I don't know. Curious your thoughts in the chat. So I'm going to switch over here to the solo shot, and we'll talk a little bit here. Where do you think this move makes Houston's rotation rank in the AL West? Are they better in that aspect than the Rangers as of now? Okay, let's look at the Rangers rotation. Rangers rotation obviously is headlined by two guys that are very close to my heart, and they're absolute beasts, DeGrom and Evaldi. Now, Evaldi got hurt last year. Don't know where he's at health-wise, but he was unbelievable while he was on the field. And Jake was great last year too. Jake probably was like a top 5 or 6 Cy Young finisher. I have no doubts about these two dudes while they're on the mound. It's just, can they stay on the mound the whole year? So as of now, we'll give them credit, but they are 37.5 and 36 basically at the moment. So we'll see how that plays out. Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, Jacob Latz. Leiter, I feel like got really good experience last year. Can we go take a quick look at Jack? Got a lot of experience last year. But I don't know. He's got a leap to take. No doubt about it. 29 starts, 3.86, 151 and 2/3, 148 strikeouts, 1.28 whip. Not a bad season. Bottom line results, all told. My bad. Not sharing the screen. Here's Jack. I don't know. Ultimately, though, you look at the expected numbers. He could definitely do better with Chase. He's giving up too much hard contact, too many walks. Right now, a lot of his success comes off the fact that he just throws really, really hard, and he's short, and he has a very explosive four-seam to the top. He's a guy to watch. This could very much go in one direction or the other. Now that he's been through the league once or twice, people are going to key in on this fastball. And he's been on a quest for a while to figure out what those third, fourth, and fifth pitches potentially are for him that are going to have any type of results. I do think the sinker was a good change for him. So I'm high on Leiter. At least the top 3 have big time upside. I'd say just off the rip, if this is all big ifs because of injuries, but if Jake and Nate pitch, I mean, that top 2 is likely better than the Astros top 2. I understand Hunter Brown can equal whatever they're doing, but I wouldn't put necessarily Imai or Javier necessarily up against the other one of those two, whether it's DeGrom or Nate. But in the third category, I kind of like Imai at the moment more than Leiter, although he's got to go out and prove it. So we'll see. Leiter's going to get better. Let's see who else we have in the Rangers rotation. It's Kumar and Jacob Latz. Now, Kumar, I'm very confused about. I thought he had one of the better sliders in the game when he first got called up. Unbelievable whiff rate, death ball action on it. And then he went to a different route last year. Totally different route. And I'm not really sure why. But the results were not there. 14 starts, 5.74 ERA, 1.46 whip. Just got hit really hard, man. Still generated chase and whiff at a decent rate and got grounders, but other than that, everything really backed up. The slider, to me, is such a good pitch. This death ball, I love that it's right below the 0 line, has tremendous depth on it, but he leaned into cutter big time, 25% cutter. Basically became a sinker cutter pitcher, trying to pitch to contact. That's where the ground ball rate come from, but that did not help his exit velo and a lot of the other stuff. Hey, dude. No. You could choke on that, baby. You don't want that. So I don't think Kumar rates higher than like a Lance McCullers. Obviously, there's a health issue with McCullers, but I would say I would give the Astros the slight edge, although it's just because of the bottom half of this Rangers rotation, and it's too early to tell. Things could change. Do you want to say hi? I can't do it right now because I'm on my show, but do you want to say hi? You can watch truck shows on Mommy's computer, and then when I'm done, I'll put you on here, okay?
No.
I know. I have to do my show, though, baby. So, I know. Can you say hi at least?
You want to show them your cool
You want to show them something cool?
Show them your cool
Can we show you your cool jammies? Come here.
No.
Come here, Bubba.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I got to keep going. What would Imai need to go consistently deep into games? I mean, we don't really know yet. You can go in deep into games without a contact approach, but you got to pound the zone. You got to have good fundamentals. We got to see how the league approaches you. So I have no idea what we're looking at in terms of length profile out of Imai. I'm just curious to watch it and see how it develops. But the stuff is definitely different. If your slider is that shape and speed, seems like a great two-seamer would be monstrous. Imagining Holiday's two-seam with that slider. So I think he's ripe for a slider shape as well. You saw the four seam shape that we just looked at a minute ago. Let me backtrack to that just to reiterate why I think this. The four seam shape already having about 15 inches of arm side run. You just can imagine you switch that to a two seam shape. The vert's going to come crashing down into a sinker like type profile where there's sink to it, but it's also going to have tremendous run. I would project him easy to have 17, 18 inches of run. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't lean into that. Now, again, I'm not with him, but I could see a tremendous two seam shape as a possibility. 100% agree with this comment from Dano. A lot of question marks about their health. I mean, I think that's the same for both Texas and Houston, which we just went over. Rangers, huge health question. Rangers still great, definitely higher upside, I think. Okay. Why, with these Japanese players getting less money than predicted on their deals, do you see NPB teams being resistant to posting more because of the lack of posting fees? I don't really know what the calculus is on the NPB side. It seems like different organizations have different ideas about whether this is like an earned privilege to be posted or whether it's like a money-making, ordeal. So I don't really know about that. I do think that this contract in particular is interesting. I was looking at it a little bit. So first of all, there's some incentives in there. He can opt out after every year. The posting fee that they're paying is actually off of the total guarantee. So it's off of that $63 million guarantee, or maybe it's a little higher when it's all said and done with some incentives earned once he gets over 100 innings, which I guess he's probably pretty likely to do. And then if he pitches great and he opts out, looks like Houston's going to be on the hook for about $30 million for this year. So they're clearly setting that number in a place where that's where the upside could be, $30 million a year pitcher. And I think that's kind of where Boris wanted to get to. But ultimately, there was no long-term offers with that AAV. So it's an interesting thing. Like, if he's great, he's gone. You have him for 1 year, but then he's gone. He's back on the market, and everybody will be salivating maybe with no posting fee at that point. It'll be a little different. But if he's bad, he's going to opt in, and you're still going to be paying him, tens of millions of dollars the next 2 years. So I don't know. Houston takes a big leap here. It's kind of a 1-year gamble with the 2-year fallback, but maybe not a good 2-year fallback on their side of things. Probably better for Imai. So I don't know if it's like a bad contract that he got negotiated. I think it's just more indicative of people don't know what to make of him right now. And maybe they didn't want to pay that posting fee penalty. So maybe there's something to do with that. But again, I think each NPB team looks at that a little bit differently. So somebody asked about rotation. Best rotation in the AL. Let me see that. Where is that? Let me take a quick gander because I'm pretty sure it's Seattle. But off the top of my head, the Yankees and the Blue Jays are both possibilities. Now, I know the Yankees won't have all their guys right away, but if we go look at the home team for me over here, and right now there's no Rodon in there and there's no Garrett Cole in there. You put Garrett Cole, Rodon, Fried, Schlittler, that's pretty stupid to me. You got righties, you got lefties, you've got basically 3 aces in a way, Rodon, Fried, and Garrett. And then Schlittler's up and coming, who looked awfully good last year, and then you just need one of these guys to be good. So Yankees are definitely in the convo. Blue Jays are definitely in the convo too. They made some major moves in that rotation. Now, we have no idea how Cody Ponce will be, but got to feel pretty good about Gosman, Cease, Bieber, and Savage. Now, I know Bieber might have signed there because of a little bit of health questions, worried about passing the physical. So maybe we don't know where Bieber's at with the elbow, but I thought he looked good last postseason and looked really good in the regular season. So I think they have a shot at being that team. I think the Red Sox might have the most depth. Now, I know I guess what would we call it, glazing the AL East here a little bit hard, but the Red Sox have crazy depth. Now, I wouldn't put them there yet. Crochet, Gray, Bayo, and then we didn't see any pitching from Crawford and Sandoval. But don't forget, they also have Early, they have Oviedo, they have Peyton Tolley, and there's plenty of depth there, so they got to be in the conversation. Who else would be in the conversation here? Probably not the Guardians. Royals is sneaky good. Tigers not deep enough. Twins, no. White Sox, no. We just talked Rangers. Athletics, definitely not. Angels, definitely not. So, yeah, I think those are what you're looking at. You're looking at Mariners, who are my pick right now. To me, this is the best rotation in the AL. Wu, Gilbert, Castillo, Kirby, and Miller. I mean, at worst, all of these guys are number twos. Some of them are number ones. They also have a guy they just drafted last year, third overall, Cade Anderson, who I like a lot as well. So I think the Mariners is my answer to that. All right, let me move down because there's tons of questions coming in here in the chat, which I think is great. Eric agreed that he thinks best in the AL is probably still Seattle. Jacuzzi says Leiter is a star in the making, and I do think he could take the leap. Like being where he's at now, he definitely can go one direction or the other. He has the arm talent to take the leap. Let's see how he does. Every single Ranger pitcher had better than expected stats. You know what's interesting about this, Dan? I was just having a conversation with Jared Faust, who was one of the analysts for the Mets when I was there. Now he works for the NBA. He's been helping me build out some of my tools that I'll be using for this next season with some coding and stuff. We talked a little bit of how, in general, the expected stats and the real stats for batters did not line up last year across MLB. So maybe that's a little bit of a glitch with the expected stat calculation. But also, you got to remember that ballpark plays huge in Texas. It really does. Astros could use a guy like Chafin to break up some of that straight velo out of the pen. You know, they do have a couple of lefties already, but Chafin, I mean, has he been as effective the last few years? I felt like you could set him like a metronome for a while, and you knew what he would do, but I don't think he's been as dominant lately. They do have Brian King and Stephen Okert, who to me are pretty good lefties. So maybe one more, I don't know. Is this about any fastball shape that's good enough? Talking about Imai? I think the sinker shape that could potentially be created could be good enough. But we're just going to have to watch it play, man. We're going to have to watch it play. Don't forget that he's got an absolute gas missile arm. Like he can throw 95, 96 up to 99. So if you have a crappy shape, I mean, Paul Skeens has a crappy shape, but he throws 100. Nobody's complaining about that. Oh, truck shows and coffee. Yep, that's how we do it. We watch truck shows. How do I think new management will affect the Rangers? Well, first of all, I love Skip Schumacher. I think he's going to be I think he's already a top 5 manager in the game. The Marlins thing was weird, so they're just injecting a top 5 manager into the game. Love that. Absolutely love that. Big fan of Skip Schumacher. He was a mentor to me a little bit. I'm not that I was a position player, but when I first got up to the big leagues with the Cardinals, just a huge believer in Skip and everything he does. So they got a great one there in Dallas. NPB Giants never post anyone, and they posted Okamoto this year. This speaks a little bit to what I was talking about, how different teams have different NPB teams have different philosophies on posting. Tokyo Giants had never posted a player until Okamoto this year. So things are evolving over there, and we'll see how it continues to evolve. And who comes over, who doesn't. The Yamamoto thing was a special situation. That's where he got the huge money. But I think Amai might be undervalued. I'm very fascinated to watch. This is also another thing that Dan's asking about here. More Japanese could be coming over younger. It seems to me like there is some more guys willing to take this alternate career path now. Maybe coming over to America at the college level. We've seen Rintaro. I believe it's Sasaki. Maybe I have that name wrong, but he's with Stanford. He's a guy who went to do that. I know there's some other young Japanese talent players that got scouted in the Koshin tournament that are considering doing a different type of style move. I don't know what the advantage would be. I guess maybe then you're not kind of stuck with your Japanese team for that long, but we've definitely seen some guys take some alternate routes. We've even seen some American guys go over Far East at a younger age too, so that's an interesting dynamic as well. How do I think new management will affect the Nationals? Look, I don't have a great feel for Butera yet, but I know Paul Taboni a little bit. Very highly respected, very smart. He's going to be instrumental in building out their farm system, which I think is the biggest thing. You're a mid-market team. You need to create a pipeline of tremendous young talent, and Paul is probably going to be a huge part of that and a huge boon in that regard. I think Rizzo was a tremendous scout, but in terms of player development and organizing the system, I think Taboni will be a boon for the team in that regard. I mentioned the Yankees as the top rotation. Where do I see Cole's success when he returns? I think Garrett picks up right where he left off. Brand new elbow. He's had a tremendously long time in rehab. He's been feeling great in his rehab. He looks great. He's great mentally. Garrett has every intention of being the best pitcher in the world when he comes back. I think he picks up right where he left off. And I think he'll be quite good for the Yankees. And this is just a tremendous pitcher to get back. Look for him to round into tip-top form probably around July would be my guess. Schlittler needs to add another pitch to get to that ace level. Considering his whip and FIP, he did get some luck. Okay. Former Northeastern Husky Cam Schlittler, so near and dear to my heart, put up a 2.96 in 14 starts for the Pinstripes last year. Tremendous fastball velocity. He has a really good curveball. I think the cutter's pretty good as well. I think a changeup could be in his future, some sort of kick change or a split, something that you can get into the bottom right part of this movement plot. I think that would be a good place to be for Cam. I thought Cam made good adjustments, though, as he went last year. Pitching down more with the four seam to then set up the four seam later, I think is great. One thing to worry about with Cam a little bit is his four seam shape. It's good, not great. He does throw hard, averaging 98. So if that shape where the velocity degrades a little bit, you could watch out a little bit because he throws a lot of fastballs. But I think overall, being with the Yankees, having Garrett there to kind of watch and learn from, honestly, they are kind of similar a little bit in their presentation. I think he can learn a lot, and I expect Cam to be quite good this year and beyond for the Yankees. In terms of adding another pitch, that would be the obvious spot to do it, would be some sort of changeup or kick change, get something on the bottom right of this chart. Hey.
Hi.
What?
I'm just.
What are you looking for?
I don't even know.
Okay. So that's my thoughts on Cam. Oh, okay. The comment earlier about the fastball shape was about Rocker. Sorry, I'm way behind on the chat, guys. Yeah, I'm not high on Kumar at all right now. I was high on the slider when he first came up. So I'm curious what changes he makes, and time will tell, I guess. Do you have any opinions on the strike challenge system? I think it's going to be great. I think the challenge will be it'll be an entertainment product for the fans, and it'll be really fun, the human side of the machine here. Like, so you get the machine to challenge the pitches, but the humans decide when to tap the head, who's good at that, who's bad at that. All that just adds another layer of exciting. 2027 class, we will go into draft prospects this year at some point. Could the expected stats being higher be because exit velo is up, which expected stats thinks means more hits, but analytics showing where to play is also better? No, it was more different. It was more making it look like every hitter was lucky. Like every hitter was lucky that had success. So a little bit of a different calculus there. Rintaro Sasaki. Looked like he was struggling a lot when I watched him on the Cape this summer. Yeah, I mean, I know he's got some big pop. He's got a lot of movement in his swing. It's just a different path. You know, it's a big different path. He might have ended up like a Murakami. People are still questioning Murakami's swing right now. He's in MLB. So, I don't know. I haven't watched him enough myself to have any opinion, but I use him as an example because he was somebody that's taking a non-traditional route out of Japan. Coming at 18 from the Japanese high school system to U.S. college actually seems like it might be more harrowing than a 28-year-old NPB pro coming to the majors, considering the age and experience. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. It's definitely a culture shock. I'll say that. That college part that's culture shock for anybody, let alone coming from a foreign country from across the entire world. Can we get a preview of the tools? I mean, I can't show you anything, but basically I'm working on one tool that is kind of like, I get a lot of questions in season. How would you pitch this guy? How would you approach this guy, whether it's from a hitting standpoint or a pitching standpoint? One of the tools I'm building is going to help us with that. It's going to have heat maps on it. It's going to have a lot of data that I used to look at, data that I think would be useful for a hitter to look at when facing a pitcher, information about how they hit against certain velocity and other things like that. So basically, it's going to show you how I would get ahead of scouting for a matchup. And then the other tool is a little bit of a different video tool. We already have the dugout app, obviously, but it'd be a way to watch clips at a very easy, fast rate of like, say, a certain batter versus a certain pitch type versus a certain handedness versus, the recency, last 10, last 20, things like that. So we can be a little bit more accurate of what we're talking about when the games get going, because that's when the show's really the most fun, when there's baseball to watch. And right now there's no baseball to watch. That's kind of where we're at. Okay, I think I got through a lot of this chat. So that means we are going to now turn our attention to Tyler Mahle, former Ranger, who now signs with the Giants. So the Giants add another free agent starter to their group. They had already added Adrian Hauser to their group. Now they add Tyler Mahle, who had been with the Rangers the last few years. And he had pitched very well this year while he was healthy. So let's dig in on him. It's going to be very good. Yeah, he shoved this year when he pitched. 86 and 2/3 with a 2.18 ERA in 16 starts. Only did strike out the 66 batters with a 1.13 whip, though. Baseball Savant calls BS on his performance, though, saying he has 35th percentile expected ERA. Says basically the things that they like that he did. Hey, baby.
Wet toes.
You got wet toes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you want to say hi to everybody?
No.
No? Okay. Love you. It says that he did a good job controlling his contact in terms of hard hit. But other than that, they don't love it. Not enough ground ball, not enough strikeout. The walk rate's right around league average, maybe a touch better. Not enough whiff. So they're calling BS on this. Also, the velocity seems to have really declined. He averaged 92 last year on the four seam. Where was he with the Reds and earlier in his career? Yeah, at one point he had more velos. That has really dropped down since going to Texas. He was above league average in 20 and 21. And now he's not. So some of the result numbers, even though like the ERA still looks good, some of the underlying stuff's not as good. Arm angle's about the same. See, this is where some of my new tools would be good. I could go look at approach angles and some other things, kind of get an idea. But he was really effective either way last year. He ends up getting a one-year deal, kind of showing that the league is calling BS a little bit on his performance, but the Giants are buying in. Obviously, it's a great place to pitch. You don't need to be a ground ball pitcher if you're there. They did just add one in Hauser. This is kind of a contrast. Hauser's sinker, Mahle's more four-seamer. At the top, the velocity's not there, but four seam's still been playing. 3 run value on the 4 last year, 5 on the split, and 5 on the cutter. Okay, splitter. So is this new for him? I don't remember him having this pitch, but a little bit of above average amount of tail. I don't know. Let's click a video here and see if we can find anything. I don't want to watch a walk. Nobody wants to watch a walk. All right, hold on. Let me find something here. Called out on strikes. A called strike on a split is weird. Oh, the old high split. It's not really impressing anybody. What do we got over here? Here's a ground out. Here we go. This is what the split is usually meant to do. Get a guy out front and a little rollover. Nice play. I want to go to Trade Rumors real quick to see what their write-up is on this signing, because they'll have a little information on his injury status. Injury riddled 2025. Shoulder fatigue. Only came back in September. So interesting. Shoulder fatigue, missing that much time. He made 12 starts to start the campaign and then didn't pitch to September. It's interesting. Shoulder fatigue taking him out for that long. So maybe there's something going on in there, but who knows? So here's another thing. He was routinely striking out more than a batter per inning during his peak years in Cincy, but those have tailed off. He only had the 19.1% strikeout rate. So again, the under the hood numbers call bullshit on his performance, yet overall he was good. Giants are buying in enough to give him the one-year deal, clearly signifying that they didn't want to spend at the top. I thought Imai was a great fit for the Giants. But now that they don't go this rate and they go Male, you look at the rotation. You got a sinker baller in Webb. You got a lefty four-seamer in Robbie. You got a righty four-seamer in Tyler. You got a righty sinker in Hauser. And then Loop's also a sinker, sweeper type of guy. Landon Roop. So they have a little variety in here. There's just no way to know how this is going to work out. There's just no way this is going to work. Like, we have any idea how this is going to work out. But interesting that they target him and that they feel good about what they're bringing to the table. This team is an interesting team. I mentioned they have an interesting core. Lee, Adames, Devers, Chapman, Ramos, and maybe Eldridge you would include in there if you can figure it out. I mean, he's a mountain of a man prospect who hasn't done anything yet, but we'll be curious to see how he does. Bailey's the all defense. Schmidt and Matos have been underwhelming, but there's some upside here, particularly if Devers and Adames hit. Then it's all of a sudden they have an offense they haven't had in a long time. Their bullpen has to be completely rebuilt, so maybe they'll turn their attention there and they'll bottom feed. But they filled out the rotation. They didn't go as electric as we hoped. Molly and Hauser, though, at least they're a contrast, so we'll see how that plays. I think the Giants need one more move to be a real contender, probably in the rotation. See, I thought they needed to go big time here as well. Clearly, they did not feel that way. I think they need a lot. They have a lot to work to do in the bullpen as well. So this is definitely a team to watch still. We'll see what Buster wants to do here. But I think they could have done more. I'm agreeing with you there. Gennai Sato, or Genie Sato. So I was mentioning he's at Penn State. Okay, so here's another guy. Interesting. Penn State's an interesting route from Japan. But another Japanese guy taking the U.S. college route. Unless FSG makes more moves for the rotation, doesn't look very good, especially if injuries hit. I agree, they don't have very much depth. Teng got knocked out of this group with this signing. But yeah, it's not very deep. It's not very deep. There's no guarantees here. But they have made 2 moves, so I expect even more. I think they'll do more to their pitching staff, 1 or 2 more pitching staff moves. I think it would be obviously great for them if they needed, they really need some more upside. I truly believe that there's not enough above averageness here, if that's not even a word, or it's a concept, I guess. But outside of Webb and Robbie Ray, it's not very exciting. I mean, it's there, but it's not very exciting. And again, I mentioned the bullpen needs to be completely rebuilt. So I think P's right here. Quite a bit right. I don't think Molly's a 3. He's more of a 4 or 5. He just was so hurt in 23 and 24, making 8 starts total. Then last year, he's mostly heavy. I mean, mostly healthy, but not really. I think the health is the number one thing with this guy. And maybe with some more health, maybe the velocity comes back and he's a little bit more dynamic and striking guys out. There's so much behind the scenes stuff that we don't know. Like, the Giants get to look at his medicals, they get to talk to him, they get to understand some things, that we don't have any access to. So that's a little disappointing. I think he's more of a 3. I tend to agree here. I think he's more of a 3 if he's healthy. Just hasn't been, So therefore, it's pretty hard to project anything when you don't know, right? So it's a little tough to parse through. All right. What else happened? Anything else happened recently? Those were the main 2. Imai and Male were the main 2. Interesting that they happened at the same time. Makes me think that the Giants maybe were negotiating with Imai a little bit, and then they immediately, maybe pivot to Male. I don't know. Maybe it's hard to understand who's competing with who behind the scenes, but I think the timing of signing sometimes shows you that they're a little closer to each other. Have you ever used pitcher lists for the website? Yeah, I've looked at pitcher list at times. They used to do like a really fun like picture of the stuff of the games, but they're mostly a fantasy site. I know they have a lot of really good, data. I mean, they have player projections in here. Fastball shape sheet. This is useful. So they have some useful stuff, but of course, then you got to pay money, which we're not doing right now. Anyway, yeah, they might be useful at some point, but delete for now. How about Scooble? You know, this is such a weird one. I don't know what they're gonna do. I get the sense like it might be a trade deadline thing. They're gonna try to compete maybe till the deadline. We talked about Verlander maybe being a fit here to help fill out this rotation. They made some moves in the bullpen. I mean, they paid a lot of money to both Kenley Jansen and Kyle Finnegan to beef up the bullpen. And really, I think they have some ability out here in this bullpen, but I mean, you know, they were in first place all year last year, so this is a team that's definitely competing. But I don't know. I think Scooble is obviously the big elephant in the room. I don't think they're going to offer him the Godfather contract at any point before the season. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but um, you know, you only trade him if you get a massive haul back, and then then you see how your season goes, and then you try to hit up a desperate team at the break. CC Sabathia style back in the day when he got traded to Milwaukee, and they got 4 huge prospects in the Hall for that, even though a lot of them didn't work out. Michael Brantley did, but other than that, not really. But I don't know. Maybe you do that. I think it'd be interesting. Yeah, I think they're very much in the deadline play here. I think definitely. I just don't see them trading Scooble before the season. I could be wrong, but that's the sense I'm getting, that they're going to still try to compete, and if it all falls apart, they can make moves at the deadline. Kenley feels like a good option for them to pivot at the deadline if they're out of it. I would agree with that totally. Totally agreed there. Snell pulling out the scouting report from his pocket. It's a mock draft from Pitchers List. Oh no. Tigers need some batters who don't strike out a ton. Yeah, they do. They have a bit of that in there. Torkelson, Green, even Glaber to some extent. Carpenter can be that way at times. I don't know. I don't hate their lineup. If they had one more big time player, which they might, if it ends up being McGonigal, who we watched when we did Prospect Talk, McGonigal gets in there and he's a guy who rakes. That's going to up their ceiling quite a bit as an offense, and I would expect to see him pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, it's good, not great. I mean, you compare it to what the AL East teams are rolling out right now, and like the Mariners. I just don't think that the Tigers are better than any of those teams. I mean, their lineup's certainly not better than the Orioles, Blue Jays, Yankees, Red Sox. I think it's probably in the next group, but Orioles are going to have a tremendous lineup this year. That's another underrated thing that's headed this direction. Jackson Jobe would be big if they had him. Of course, he's hurt. So, I don't know. Ooh, here's a question about Luis Arraez. We've been wondering about him for a while. Is Arraez a fit? Well, he's a first baseman now. He can't really play second, and first base is Torque and DH is Carpenter, so probably no. I've been struggling to find a good fit for Luis Arraez. I don't mind him in that ballpark. He's not going to hit home runs anyway, so we get a lot of singles in that big-ass outfield in Detroit, but I've just been struggling to find a fit for this guy, Every stream, the Luis Arraez question, I really struggle to find a fit for him. It's got to be a winning-ish team who doesn't have like a first baseman or DH. Hard to figure that one out. No chance. No chance. No chance. No. Very, very much no chance in my opinion. How about the Braves? I don't see this happening either, but he'd be interesting at DH. I mean, I know they have Profar around, and probably not. Again, the Rockies, yes, but like they're not in the timeline. Like the Rockies, yes, he would have a position. He could play first base. He could, you know, maybe play a little second base, but ultimately, no. Like, why would they pay money to a guy who's not really gonna, they're not really gonna win. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for the team. I don't know if Ozuna probably goes back. I get the sense Ozuna's gone. What about the White Sox now all of a sudden, huh? I mean, if the White Sox are spending a little money, I mean, they got Murakami penciled in at first, Vargas at third, Edward Cuero DH. I mean, maybe you put him at first. This team has a lot of swing and miss in it, but then they're very left-handed. I don't know. They've been a little surprising, but very hard to tell what's going to happen with Luis. No idea what's going to happen with him, honestly. Was there like a if he was in the free agent tracker? I'm curious if there's like a projection here or anything like a crowdsource. Did I pass him already? Because this guy's not anywhere to be seen. It's got to be on page 1 then. Yeah, there he is, Luis Ariz. So the crowd source on Fangraphs thought he was going to get $14 million a year. No shot, folks. No shot. We'll see, but maybe 10. I just can't figure out the team, and if you don't have the team, that's where it gets tough in free agency. Yeah, the crowdsource was around 14 million on Fangraphs. So I just personally I don't see it, man. I think he's a useful player, but it's got to be the right fit. So it's gonna be tough, man. I don't know. I don't have an answer to this either. No idea. We had some talk in my Discord yesterday about maybe the CBA looming lockout CBA stuff could be a real factor, but I don't have any sense of it, man. I don't know. And a lot of the big time dudes haven't signed yet. So Bellinger, Tucker, Bichette, Gino, Bregman, Bader, O'Hearn signed, JT. So we don't have a great sense of this yet. Ozuna's a guy with some power. I think there's plenty of room for these guys all still to get broken off, but it does seem like they're going to have to wait for it a little bit. Yeah, Marlins, they were another fit potentially for Ariz. We said that a couple days ago too, but it's like, are they going to spend any money? Would he go back there? There's a lot of questions about that. Right now they have Graham Pauley in there at first. I could see him being a Marlin, yeah, but again, are they going to do it? Probably not. So it's tough. Could go back to Padres if they don't Komodo. It's interesting because now that they signed Song, whatever his name is. Let me look at that. He's going to be playing second. So that shifted Cronenworth over to first. Sung Mung Song down here. So in a way, there isn't really a spot here. And they're also getting a little left-handed at first base DH. That's why I thought Okamoto was a great fit here. To me, Okamoto is the move maybe for the Padres. If they're willing to spend, I think he'd be a great fit. So I don't know. Still struggling to find that spot, Still have no idea why Chicago White Sox didn't keep Tauchman. I love Tauchman as a player. I think he's a winning player. I think he'll find his way on a winning team. Interesting with the White Sox. What happened there? Bellinger, I saw like a report, and again, we don't really do rumors on my show, but yeah, I saw a report that the Yankees have an offer on the table. I think a lot of teams are going to offer Cody. I think because of his versatility, his baseballiness, where it combines enough of new school plus old school. I think he's a fit for everybody. He can play outfield, can play first. He's not particularly old yet. I think I had him as, what number free agent did I have Bellinger at? I had him as my fifth best free agent, so very highly rated. I had him ahead of Kyle Schwarber, who got super broke off, and Pete got broke off. So I think he's going to do well. It's just a matter of who's going to be. Who's it going to be? I agree that I think the Mets. It makes a lot of sense with the Mets, but I don't know that that'll actually happen because, again, the price and the stomach for it controls a lot of that. If you were able to get Cody Bellinger on this Mets squad, you pencil him in for the moment and probably left or center, and he can also play first. I think he would be a great fit. Be really good in that ballpark. But again, I don't know what's going to happen there. Yeah, so we saw that. His numbers at Yankee Stadium are crazy. But I mean, again, some of the ballpark stuff, I don't know. Bellinger has a lot in his game. He's had now elite seasons for 3 different teams: Yankees, Cubs, and Dodgers. I know they all look a little bit different, but I don't think he's necessarily married to his ballpark for production either. Um, hard to say. Hard to say, I guess. You know, we say this every year, Dan, and I think you might be right, but there's still a lot of time left. And I think it's important to remember that Major League Free Agency is a drag. And the further it gets closer to spring training, the more it starts to benefit the teams. So basically, what this tells me is many agents were not successful in extracting those big offers early, and they're going to have to wait. They're going to have to wait it out, basically. And we're going to see who blinks first here with a lot of these guys. I'm really curious in particular about a few guys. Framber just seems like who's going to sign Framber? He's clearly the top arm, but I don't know. I don't know what that means. Seems like not a lot of people want to dip their toe in the Framber market. But again, this is just us looking in. We don't know what the conversations have been. Framber is a huge one. Tucker's another one. Bregman's another one. These are all very intriguing. Bichette, because of his declining defensive value, but he can still hit, and he has a skill set with contact ability that not a lot of people have currently in MLB. So there's a lot of like parsing through and trying to decide what to do here. Is there a starting pitcher in his late 20s right now who you'd hypothetically advise that there's more money to be made for him the next decade if he asked to go full bullpen? Almost never will you make more money out of the bullpen unless you become a dominant closer. Almost never. But you'd be looking for a guy with electric 2-pitch mix that can't get out of that. I don't know, maybe Mackenzie Gore, but ultimately I think he figures it out in the rotation. So tough question to answer here. Good question, but tough question to answer. Happy 2026. I have a good opinion question for you. When the MLB expands 32 teams, if and when that happens, what type of realignment would you want to see? I just would like to see it more geographical, take a little pressure off some of those West teams. Like if you think about it, Seattle having to fly to Texas all the time to play Houston and Texas is crazy far. So to me, that would be the big thing. Group the teams a little closer geographically. Maybe you get the Rockies in a division that makes sense to help out with some of the travel there. I don't know. Make it a little more geographical. I guess we don't know what the 2 new teams coming in would be. I guess one is probably going to be like a Nashville. That could help there being like a Southern division. But yeah, just something geographical, create a little bit more rivalry during the season and make the travel a little better. Love you, Brett. The kids are wild. Okay, I'm almost done. Just a minute. Jared Jones, okay, maybe. But Jared Jones he's been dominant as a starter a little bit too, so let's wait and see. I wouldn't like the realignment where they move the National League and American League teams, so it makes more geographical sense to me. They should just add one team in each league and redo divisions. Yeah, there's a lot of options with this. But I do think it's coming. Looking at the divisions here, just over here, if you added 2 in, I mean, you just look at some of them that are a little weird. That AL Central has it figured out. They're all really close, as is the NL Central. It's more like figuring out NL East, NL West. I guess if you had a team like Nashville coming in, they would have to be in a division with like the Braves and the Marlins, and then maybe like the Rays, right? And then you can. I wouldn't mind mixing up the divisions too much, but that's just me. I think you could reimagine the whole thing. What I don't want there to end up with, selfishly, is like one insanely powerful division. Like I think it would be a shame if it was Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays or something. Like a 4-team division like that, I think or Phillies, like all the rivalries and like just all big markets in one theme. I think you'd have to divide that up a little bit differently, but I don't know. I'm not really, I guess, looking at the map properly. Oh, okay. So the wife is saying that's enough. So that is going to be enough. There's really nothing else to talk about. Hopefully, we get some more moves this weekend. We'll start getting the guests rolling in. This has been a fun show. We got to look at Imai a little bit. Um, we looked at Molly a little bit, how he fits in. I guess ultimately where I landed on that is I'm not as high on the move as some others. I do think we don't have enough information to judge the Tyler Molly move yet because we don't know what the velocity is going to look like coming off of that shoulder fatigue. So we don't know the health factor. I do think he's a good, capable pitcher, but in terms of whether he's going to be a 4-5 or a 2-3, we don't know yet. So not sure what type of move this is for the Giants yet. I think maybe, if anything, I'm a little bummed out that they didn't go get Amai. I would have loved to see him in a rivalry versus the Dodgers, but at the same time, wherever he lands, it's going to be fun no matter what. The hoodie will be dropping this month. They're coming in soon, so check the YouTube shop. We got these caps. We got these beanies. Got these beanies on there in 2 colors. We got these coffee tumblers on there. We got blankets. We got some other stuff. So I'll sling all my crap on there. Please take a look if you're into that. And then the hoodies are going to be the best. The hoodies are going to be sick. We worked hard on these, so I'll show them off when they come in. But that's it. Another short show. We are still in the doldrums here. January 2nd. Kids don't go back to school till the 5th. So I don't know where I'm at mentally or whatever, but I'm going to start getting everybody in terms of guests, and we'll be pumping them out. We'll have some really good conversations for you guys the rest of January. So next show will be, what day is today? Friday. Next show will be Monday, January 5th, 10 a.m. The shows are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 a.m. here. Thanks for joining me. If you want to be in the chat on those other days where we don't simulcast with MLB, we only really simulcast with MLB on Fridays. You got to come over to my YouTube channel, Adam Ottavino 0, and subscribe. Come get in the chat. Check out some of my old videos. Some of them are good. All that World Series contact's awesome. So anyway, we'll see. Let's check it out as we move into the new year. Happy New Year for everybody. And have a great day. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you on Monday. All right. Much love. See you later.